Hey guys, welcome to our channel, the Yoder Homestead. I'm Karen. Today I just wanted to jump on here and talk about some dreams and goals that I have for the garden for this year and just some different things that I want to try. And so I'd really like to kind of extend out to you guys and see if any of you guys have tried some of the different things that I'm going to be talking about, and if you have, what your experiences were, and also just like what some of your guys' goals are and dreams are for this next year of gardening season. I am going to have a completely new space. We have been talking a lot about what we want to do infrastructure wise, and with it being a brand new space, we decided on making spaces this year that won't be permanent. We really want to live on the property and just kind of see how the flow of everything goes, where the best areas are as far as sunshine, the amount of daylight and stuff like that, where shadows are, where shade gardens will be, just different things like that to really understand what our property looks like once we are living there full time. So these are just some things that I have goals to do this year. I'm going to be experimenting with some new things that I've never tried, things that will be completely new to me, but it is exciting because it's a new space, and so there are a lot of reasons to try new things. There's always reasons to try new things, but having a new space definitely encourages me to think a little bit outside of the bubble and like really challenge myself in ways that are exciting, challenge myself in ways that makes me think of the best way to utilize spaces. So one thing that I'm going to be doing, like I said, is an in-ground garden space. So kind of my vision for this, which I'll put a picture up on the screen of kind of somewhat what of my vision is for what I'm going to be putting in place here. So we are going to create a large plot that will be in ground in the pasture over there, and we're going to till a little bit of the top of the soil, and then I want to use wood chips to make pathways. And then this allows me to create beds inside of this large bed. Instead of just doing like rows or things like that, I really wanted like defined spaces in this in-ground space. So that's one thing I am going to be putting in place this year. So we are actually going to take a road trip. We are going to be heading to Louisiana and then moving through Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia, finally ending up in Florida. It's just going to be a vacation. It's going to be just a lot of fun. This is going to be the first like big road trip our daughter has taken. So I'm just excited to see how she does and just to see new places and bring her along as well. My husband is an ultralight pilot, and so he is taking his ultralight with us in a trailer. And then he's going to be flying in some different places, and with it being warm where we're going, I am going to utilize shopping from farmers markets and just kind of visiting different places along the way to continue to eat fresh and healthy. So one thing, I did start a health journey this year, eating healthier and working out and being really conscious of what kind of foods I'm putting into my body and how much food I'm putting into my body. Serving sizes has just been something I've always struggled with. I don't measure. I never did. I never, did it for a certain amount of time to figure out how much I need to, keep and stuff like that. So I'm really excited because with doing that, it's taught me a lot about what food looks like and how much food is feeding my body and what foods feed my body the best. So going into this gardening season, I'm really going to be planting to really thrive in that, to help myself have a lot of fresh options, a lot of options that are good for us, and just teaching myself to really like utilize what's coming out of the garden in cooking and preserving and just different ways. There's a lot of new things I want to try in preserving and cooking, and just like learning how to cook and bake simply using things that are in season. So I'm really excited for that. I will be doing a lot of succession planting for things I didn't do this year, which keeps, you know, fresh food coming in throughout the year instead of just doing one large planting and then having an abundance of it and then running out. So that's one thing that is also on my list, is just being able to use what's in the garden and teach myself how to prepare meals seasonally. And I know that's not always like going to be perfect, but it is a challenge for myself to work and really use the garden in the best way that I can. I have been writing down kind of quantities I want to plant, how many plants of specific kinds that I want, how much I can stagger them, just different things like that. It's really kind of challenging my planning abilities, but I'm excited for it. One thing also I want to do is utilize more container planting. So with it being an in-ground garden, and I had my raised beds here in my raised bed garden that are really, really deep with a lot of, you know, floofy soil. I'm not sure how this soil is going to be over there. We are planning on tilling the top of it to amend it with compost and some different things so that it'll be ready to plant in May. I want to use container planting. Like, I've never used grow bags. I've never used anything like that. I do have my green stock garden planter that I will be utilizing a little bit differently this year as well. And in those spaces, I want to do like potatoes in grow bags that I've seen, which is really cool because I'm not sure how deep those potatoes are going to be able to go in this soil. I will do a few plants in the in-ground just to see like what I'm dealing with, what I'm working with. And then I am going to do grow bags. I hope to have 2 raised garden beds like I do here, to have like maybe my tomato plants in, or just some different things that really need the root depth of soil. So it just depends. I'm going to be really experimenting with the in-ground garden. I'm still going to be planting everything in there, but there's certain stuff that I want to plant in raised beds and stuff like that. So, and then also like I love to do container planting for like just flowers, like ornamental stuff. I want to better myself in planting ornamental with edible in one container. So you can walk out and have like something edible you can just grab out of a container on this patio. So it's a really beautiful patio space that is on the house, and I'm really excited to use that space to have a bunch of edibles, because especially for Viviana, her walking out of the house, I want her to be able to just like go over and snack on something. So also one thing I don't have is strawberry plants. I started my strawberry plants here, and they'll be staying here. So that is something that is new, that is going to be new for this property. And then I wasn't quite sure, you know, I'm going to be establishing my perennial spaces, and if I don't figure out how I want to do those before planting time, I might utilize like the green stock for strawberries, because you can pull those plants out because they look like a potted plant when you pull the whole thing out. And you can plant those in the areas where you decide you want to have your perennial beds and stuff. That's the next thing on my list, is establishing my perennial areas. So I have a vision of doing an herb garden that is strictly perennials, and then adding in annual herbs that do not come back here after winter. Maybe doing that in pots, and then having my perennials in the ground. It's just, there's a lot of different space. There's a lot of learning how much sunlight certain spaces are going to be getting. So I really have to take my time in specific things, especially establishing perennial areas, because I don't want to move those. Obviously, don't create more work for yourself if you don't need to. So that is something that I want to really make sure that I'm picking the best places to like put stuff like that in. I do have some perennial shade garden mixes that I want to do as well. And then Viviana's flower garden, there is a playhouse there. And so I kind of have this like beautiful picture in my head of having a little picket fence around her playhouse and like creating a little garden around her playhouse with flowers and different edibles and maybe some strawberries and stuff like that. So that is something that will be next too. I also did purchase quite a few different varieties of flowers I would like to use for cut flowers. I will be experimenting with cut flowers. That's something I really would love to do, to get into, is cut flowers. I really like to have fresh flowers in my house. There's a lot of local florists that just do it in their backyard and sell flowers, and so I really want to just experiment with it and see how it goes. Just learn the different techniques of preserving flowers and being able to keep them as long as possible, when to harvest them to keep the bloom life as long as possible, and just different things like how certain flowers do versus others, and really learning a lot more about cut flowers because there is such a demand for cut flowers in our area, which is amazing. It just gives a lot of people the opportunity to maybe reach into an income space that is something you can do from your home. So that is something I would love to get into. I will be experimenting with a bunch of cut flowers. I don't know. I just think it's so beautiful, the thought of like going out and cutting your own flowers and bringing them in and putting them on your table and then making food from the garden. It just sounds so romantic to me. So, and the next thing is drip irrigation. So my goal is to have a lot of hands-off watering systems put in place, but we are trying to do this in the best way we can, keeping it mobile, because we don't want to put anything in permanent unless we know that is where it's going to stay. So I really want to work with like drip irrigation, making sure things are on timers and like just different stuff like that. I've never had drip irrigation. I've never worked with it, so it's going to be a completely new thing for me. I really would like to avoid overhead watering because if I'm doing cut flowers, I just don't want anything on the blooms that doesn't have to be there. I just want to utilize the water in the best way that I can. And then the next thing, we did experiment a little bit with microgreens. If you're interested in watching those videos, I will put them up and in the description below, but you can go check those out. Microgreens was really fun. I really enjoyed it, and it's something that is just a really healthy option. If you need something quick, it's like you can make them into a salad, you can put them, in a smoothie. There's a lot of options for microgreens, like the different varieties, and there's so much nutrition in them. And so with this health journey that I'm taking, I really want to just surround myself with the best options that I can, because I am a hardcore snacker. I love all things sweet, and so it's really hard for me to not have cravings. And so I really want to surround myself with like things that if I do snack on something, it'll be something nutritious. I did touch on this a little bit, is to preserve a lot of the garden, do things differently. I have a lot more space in the kitchen wise over there, and there is a large walk-in pantry, which is amazing. I just don't really have the space here. We do have our storage room downstairs in the basement, but it's for storage. It's not really a pantry to put canned goods in and stuff like that. That gives me the opportunity to really like work on preserving, because I do love to can. I like to make pretty things and then see them in the beautiful jars, and freezing different things. Just really being responsible with the things that come out of the garden and utilizing as much of it as I can. The last thing is just teaching myself how to cook in season and really try to do that as much as I can, which makes you grow things differently throughout the year. Those are some of my goals and dreams for this year. It's not a long list because there's a lot of things that need to be put in place when we move, and moving in general is just not something that I love. I have moved a lot in my life, and so moving is just like, oh gosh. So we're gonna come back from vacation and we're gonna pack up our house, and we sign the closing papers when we get back, and then we have 30 days to move out of our home. It just feels really bittersweet. Like, I am so thankful the family that this house is going to is just an answered prayer, and it's exciting. I'm excited for them to walk into this home and make it their own and stuff, but it's still like, you know, we put so much work into an area, and when you do that, you get emotionally attached to a place, and so the letting go process has been harder than I thought it would be, but it's a good thing. It helps me because new change and better change is good for you, to challenge yourself and put yourself in a space where, you know, everything's new and there's nothing really established, and there is like landscaping established, but as far as like edible garden growing, there's not a lot of that there. So I'm excited. I am really excited. I'm going to be starting my onion seeds soon. I'm going to be doing that before we go on vacation, because we have a person that just stays at our house and takes care of everything for us. And I'm excited. First seeds of 2022. I encourage you guys, make a list and try and challenge yourself in at least one way this year in the garden. Just challenge yourself to try something new, or just do something better than what you know it was, and just see how it does. You don't fail if you try something new. You just learn, and you make yourself better. So I hope this inspires you guys. I wish you the very best in this gardening season, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.